It has been said that this will be the first generation to witness the end of extreme poverty. The wheels of development will spin faster and clean energy will replace fossil fuel dependence blamed for causing climate change. A blueprint known as Agenda 2030, consisting of 17 Sustainable Development Goals, adopted last week at the United Nations General Assembly, is expected to make this dream come true.
It is so decided.
This, however, is a familiar script. 15 years ago, the United Nations community endorsed a similarly ambitious anti-poverty campaign in a blueprint known as the Millennium Development Goals, or MDGs. Looking back, however, the achievement is far from what was desired. Each country has its excuses. This is Kenya's.
We lagged behind by 4 years. I had also said that most of the MDGs, they were perceived to be United Nations goals. We did not own them immediately, and that was a big challenge. The other concern was that during the declaration of the MDGs, there was a commitment from the developed countries that they were to set aside 0.7% of their gross national income to assist development countries to overcome or to implement the MDGs. That 0.7% has not been coming.
Lack of funding and misappropriation of the little available funds hindered to a great extent the achievement of the Millennium Development Goals, which just expired. And as the world now moves to the new Sustainable Development Goals, countries will have to be innovative to beat the funding challenge and minimize wastage. This is critical because transitioning from MDGs to SDGs will also require a transition from billions to trillions in investments of all kinds. The World Bank estimates that it will cost up to $5 trillion, the equivalent of 500 trillion shillings every year for the next 15 years, to implement Agenda 2030. Where will this money come from? A conference on financing for development held in Addis Ababa in July this year came up with a basket of policy recommendations for financing.
This is a financing strategy, not for one country, not for countries in one continent. It's for the 193 member states of the United Nations. In other words, we are planning for the whole world.
The World Bank and the IMF have launched a joint initiative to strengthen tax systems in developing countries. Our aim is to assist lower-income countries to increase their tax collection by at least 2 to 4% of GDP.
Poorest countries can now borrow 50% more from our interest-free facility.
International cooperation is inevitable if the Sustainable Development Goals are to be achieved fully and uniformly across the world.
Any objection? I see none.
Whether the community of the United Nations will celebrate achievement of SDGs come 2030 depends on each country's commitment to action. Sylvie Chibet, Citizen TV, New York.